Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I started going through my phone. I found out there is a feature on iPhones where you can click on a geographical area on a map and you can start just going through pictures in that area. And I ended up in the warehouse that I used to work at Tesla back in the day. And it brought up a lot of memories. And I think for today's video, I want to reflect on the last 10 years, on my journey as a Tesla investor, my journey as a, previous employee. And although that has a little bit less to do with this video, but I think it might be helpful. There's a lot of people out there, just from my DMs and all the comments that I read, that are going through a very tough time, man. Are going through a very tough time. I think it's very important for all of us to recognize that even though, some of us may have done really well recently because of how Tesla stock has performed, it still doesn't take away from the fact that a lot of people, including those same people that went through that journey, including myself, it kind of sucks right now. Kind of sucks being a Tesla investor. And so I want to reflect on my time with the hopes that a little bit of, what comes out of this video, it helps somebody out there that is going through, maybe they're rethinking their investment strategy. They're rethinking, hey, listen, is this not the right thing? Did I screw up? Is this a big mistake? And I'm not the right person to ask if that's the case or not. But this is just me sharing a story on my journey and hoping that it's helpful in some way, if it's, continuing on, changing course, whatever it may be. For those of you that have been following my YouTube channel, you know that I've been investing in Tesla since 2012. I was an employee at Tesla from 2017 to 2021. And through most of those years, it kind of sucked. It kind of sucked being a Tesla investor, for sure. The two big high points that stick out to me from that journey are 2013, when Q1, the first ever quarter that Tesla posted that it was profitable. That was a big, huge high for me, I guess, mentally, right? I had basically my entire life savings in the stock. The stock went from $30 to, 180 or whatever it was. Allowed me to buy my first house. Sticks out as a huge positive. The second one is obviously the recent roundup from 2019 through 2021. It allowed me to be financially stable and really pursue my passions and engage in the things that really truly make me happy and connect more with my family and my friends and sort of the things that really resonate with me internally. And eternally thankful for that experience, obviously. To this day, I'm extremely thankful. Every single day I wake up, I thank the stars, whoever or whatever's out there, that I was somehow lucky enough to have benefited from that. At the same token, though, during those 10 years, most of it was quite difficult. It really was, especially mentally. If I think back to after that initial run-up in 2013 and sort of the in-between time between 2013 and 2019, that entire time period was really marred by a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt, a lot of things that would come up in news that would happen. You would hear people talk about the brand. You would hear people talk about the leader and Elon Musk and all that stuff. That was it started really taking a negative turn right around 2014, 2015 by forces, who knows? It was really, really tough. Think about Tesla and Elon Musk in that story. It's based on a lot of hope. It's based on a lot of future gains, a transformational wealth opportunity for many individuals. You have an entire Tesla community, myself included, that's going on YouTube and speaking about how passionate we are about the story, and this is where we think the stock's going to be. It's just a lot of very positive things are tied to that story. But in the same token, a lot of the time that I've been a Tesla investor, it has kind of sucked. It has kind of sucked because it's surviving through those extended periods of time where there's a lot of just confusion and a lot of noise. And of course, that doesn't excuse when there's things happening with the company or their story that are quite legitimate. If you've been following my videos, you know that there are certain weaknesses that I see in Tesla today with communications and sort of how unclear it is where Elon is in respects to working at Tesla, working at Twitter. And of course, as an individual, as another human being, I want him to be happy. But at the same time, it's important to also keep in mind that there's a public company here that's being managed. And there are certain things that, the company can do much better. But that's neither here or there for this video, truly. This is more me coming forward and saying that it hasn't been enjoyable being a Tesla investor. It really hasn't been. But I think that's part of the magic. I think that's part of the magic of what it means to be invested in a company that could be transformational long term. I don't know if it's a rule set that the universe has that says you can't just have good things all the time. Really, the lesson that I've taken away from my investing journey is that if we're talking specifically about investing in things, for something to exist that is just purely returns long term, big returns long term, it seems impossible that this story wouldn't have a lot of pain, a lot of shitty times attached to it. Because I can't recall the last time something that I've experienced in my life that felt great or was transformational positively in my life wasn't part of a very long struggle, a very long period of wading through the mud and wading through what seems like a whole weight that's put up on your shoulders and you're trying to move forward. I think that lesson can be applied to a lot of things, not just investing, right? All good things, all great things, all positive things are born out of difficulty, are born out of going through tough times. There's a lot of lessons to be learned through that period. And my biggest lesson as a Tesla investor is if you've sit down and you've done the math and you know that you have done absolutely everything in your power to ensure that the way you feel about the company, the way you feel about the stock, the way you feel about the leadership group and whatever else, the dynamics, the macro environment, world governments, if you've done everything you can to test your thesis by uncomfortably going into the situation where you're like, okay, I forced myself in an area that I'm not comfortable going into as far as people doubting the stock, people doubting the company, people doubting the leader, and I've done the diligence to ensure that I'm testing my own hypothesis, at that point, if you really have a lot of conviction in that story, why wouldn't you just go forward? Why would you stop? Why would you quit? And of course, this is my lesson. I'm naturally a very emotional person. I know a lot of people tell me on YouTube, like, hey, you seem so even keel. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if you met me in real life, it could be a little bit different. I definitely try and aspire to be the best version of myself on camera and on YouTube for sure. And I'm not somebody that has all the answers. Honestly, the opposite. I'm somebody that doesn't have any answers, okay? But there are really a lot of lived experiences that really stick out to me as an investor. They really do. And so when I think about the current time of Tesla and where it is as a company and as a stock, given all the craziness in macro and Elon doing his thing with Twitter, and we have an investing base, it appears, that's quite divided on how the company or the leader should be behaving, all of which are, I think, extremely healthy, by the way. I think the dynamic that exists right now is very, very healthy long term. It allows the weaknesses to be exposed, and it allows for the right people to take action to shore up those weaknesses, or at least decide that they're not, or they are going to shore up those weaknesses, right? All this stuff is truly, truly healthy. It's very reminiscent of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, where the company was not viewed positively by many. And worse, the company itself was in a very crappy financial situation. But the difference now is that you have a company that is financially stable, that does have the tools to move forward. And so when I hear things like, oh, the company's screwed, oh, the company's finally, coming apart, oh, the demand, all this stuff, that stuff is very easy for me to ignore because I know the fundamentals of the company. I've done my research. I've done a lot of research, okay? I've done a lot of research. And again, do your own. But what I'm learning is that is the weakest argument against Tesla, by far. The finances, the execution, the fact that literally most world governments are starting to incentivize a move to EVs, it seems very unlikely to me that this company is going to suffer from that perspective. I just don't see it. I just definitely don't see it. And so it becomes a question of perception. It becomes a question of how are the markets valuing Tesla related to other companies in the market, given where we are today in the economy and the sort of current tides that are happening. And so that is the part that is unscientific. I can't sit down and put a number to that. I can't sit down and say, hey, this is market sentiment. This is how it's going to be. And now it's been a huge learning lesson for me, this bear market. Is like, okay, whatever I thought in my head was the correct PE or whatever, who cares? None of that matters. None of that matters. It's what the perceptions are, right? And so if you have variables or things that come up that impact those perceptions and impact those, call it short-term to medium-term variables that could really impact how people value the company, everything goes out the window. It doesn't really matter as far as short-term and medium-term pricing. But when it comes to the execution of a company, when it comes to the long-term potential of the company, and given all the variables around it, that becomes a very different story. And so this dynamic that we're in now of long-term versus short-term is very, very real. And I think it's the first for the company ever because it is profitable, because it is making a lot of money. And it is a company that is doing really, really well by the metrics that companies typically get measured on in the stock market. But what's also important is that the short-term and medium-term stuff is also valid. It's also that's why the stock market exists in the first place, I feel like. It's people buying and selling shares. It's people saying, hey, I want to buy this stock for this price. And if there's more sellers than buyers, then there's not enough people that want to buy the price at a higher price because there's more people selling them, which forces the stock down. That's just how it works. And so I think the exploration period for all of us is really, do the short-term concerns, do the medium-term concerns, do the Elon working at Twitter, Elon's divisiveness on Twitter, could that impact the brand dramatically? Recession, competition in China, margins, profitability, new projects. We have to sit down and say, okay, which one of these is actually impactful for the long term if you are a long-term investor? And do our best to figure out and do research that says, hey, brand damage. Okay, I'm going to go out and try to talk to 100 people or 200 people randomly and just see what they feel, right? See what they feel. It's very easy for us to be in a bubble. It's very easy for us to be like, okay, I'm in the circle. I'm hearing all this noise in the circle. The Tesla community is a huge bubble. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's a bubble. I'm in that bubble. I am the bubble. Okay. But I'm trying my best to step outside of that bubble and say, okay, if brand damage is a concern for me, I need to go talk to 100 random people. I need to go on the opposite side of the spectrum and see what those people are saying. And from the work I'm doing right now for myself, again, non-scientific, but this is how I'm approaching it, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. It seems like it's a lot of noise in a specific bubble that has captured the attention of folks that are fans of this company and this story. That doesn't mean that it's not impacting stock price, right? That doesn't mean that it doesn't impact the stock price. But from a long-term perspective, I personally don't believe it's a problem. But again, this is my research. This is what I'm doing to see if my long-term thesis makes sense or not. And so the takeaway of leaning into the uncomfortable nature of research, leaning into the uncomfortable nature of doubting yourself, of really validating the data sets that you thought were correct, ultimately it's the healthiest thing a person can do. I really do think so. In that uncomfortable state is really where you can test your resolve and test your thesis and to really make sure that the work you're doing is actually correct and it's reflective of reality and not just some pipe dream. But this has to be done by the individual, and I encourage each individual to embark on this journey. Get yourself uncomfortable. Get in there and say, crap, what if this whole thing is wrong? What if Elon going on Twitter is going to destroy the brand? What if Elon is saying all this stuff about agree or disagree? What if this is really going to impact demand? What if the macro is really going to cause a lot of pain? What if the demand is really falling off a cliff? What if BYD is going to take over the entire EV landscape in China? What if GM and Ford and all these OEMs actually do become huge competitors to the company? What if Tesla's pricing power is actually made up? What if it really does become a story where margins go down over time, growth slows, and this just turns into another story? What if FSD never works out? Take those variables and try to put some sort of statistical percentage to it that says this is the likelihood of this happening, and then go back and redo your work. I find that this process is the best to give yourself confidence that if you're investing in something that makes sense to you is actually true. For me, it is. I have a lot of conviction in this Tesla stock, regardless of where it is today. Do I hate seeing it go down? Of course. Do I wish Elon was less divisive? Yes. Do I think Tesla can do a much better job with communications? Yes. Do I think Tesla executes at a very high level? Yes. Do I think they have the best margins by far and they'll continue to have the best margins by far? Yes. Do I think there's new products coming down the pike that are going to transform industry? Yes. Do I think it has the best talent in the world? Easily? Yes. And I can go on and on. If you want to hear my bull thesis, just watch my videos, right? But it's important. It's very, very important right now. I think it's super, super important for all of us to be comfortable with the fact that a lot of us are hurting, that a lot of us are in a situation where this is extremely uncomfortable and it sucks. But this is how I felt more than 60-70% of my time as a Tesla investor. In the last 2 years, we're like, oh my God, everything's great. Everything's great. Everything's great. And it's reverted back to the mean. The difference here is that, Tesla is profitable. They are profitable and they're going to be making a lot of money this quarter. This upcoming quarter is going to be a record quarter. That's without a doubt. You can argue how much of a record quarter is going to be, but the trajectory seems very, very positive for the company. But do your own research, validate it yourself. Don't listen to me. Ideally, nobody would listen to me. Ideally, nobody, like this YouTube thing just goes to hell. And then I don't know, I pick up freaking basket weaving. I don't know, like I'll pick up something else to, be passionate about and feel like I'm bringing value to the world, right? So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I wanted to come out, speak from the heart, and try to really connect with those that are hurting today. I feel it. I see your comments. I see your DMs, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is a period of time that you're going through. It sucks. If there's one little piece of advice I could leave you with, is that those are the moments that really define an individual. If I think back to my time at Tesla for the 4 years, 90% of it was pain and suffering and long hours and hunger and hitting your head against the wall and trying to figure out how to make stuff work when you have stones and sticks trying to build a spaceship and nothing's working, and it's pain and it sucks so bad. But it's given me so many lessons, and so many different positive things have come out of it. It's built character, it's built resilience, it's built my ability to think on the fly. It's allowed me to really remove emotion and try to look at things logically. It's put me in pressure situations where it doesn't matter how pressured I feel, I can still think somewhat clearly. It's made me aware that I'm an emotional person, that I am not as stoic as I'd like to be. I'm just not. I'm not wired that way. So it's taught me tools on how to manage that emotional state when it shouldn't be there. I've learned so much. And I'm so grateful for those shitty times. And this period of time reminds me of that, is that I'm grateful for the shitty times. And hopefully for those that are suffering financially, please do everything you can to remove that weight from your mindset as much as possible. And that's much easier said than done, because part of finding opportunities is taking risks from a financial perspective. And I don't want you to listen to me for financial advice, but I really think feeling those tough times fully and accepting them, and instead of wishing that it was different, learning those lessons from those tough times and figuring out what can we do different to put ourselves in a situation to either avoid it or to take advantage of this pain, right? My biggest lesson right now, I don't have a big enough shovel to buy Tesla stock. I'm pissed, bro. It sucks. It sucks seeing your net worth half, or I haven't even looked at it because I'm like, fuck that. Not for me. But it sucks. It sucks feeling like you've made a mistake. It sucks feeling like you're in a situation where, damn it, I should have done it differently, But it's learning. It's learning. And that's what life is all about. It's learning. Let's learn to get better. Let's learn to share feedback. Let's learn to not be afraid to speak our minds. These are all very valuable lessons, because ultimately, these are the things that come together to create a better future. Thank you all so much. I hope this was helpful. And just let me know what you think in the comments. I could have very well just sat here for, I don't know, how long is it? 26 minutes now in record time. And this whole thing is just a bunch of bullshit. But I'm being honest. So that's okay too. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Have a great day.